Okay, so hey guys, Bethany, and we're going to do our first lecture for Intro to Speech.
My name is Bethany. I'm going to be one of your speech coaches for outreach this year. I am a rising senior in high school. I've been doing speech for 4 years. I usually compete in original oratory or informative. And in Alabama, I have 3 state championships for oratory, and I've qualified in oratory to nationals twice.
And I'm also one of your speech directors, and I'm a rising senior in Northridge High School, and my main events are usually program oral interpretation and poetry interpretation. But just this past March, I tried original oratory and got first place, which qualified me to win a national championship.
So there are 2 types of speech that we're going to be talking to you about. These are the main speech events that you're going to be seeing at most of the tournaments if you compete this year. And I'm going to be telling y'all about platform events and like the 2 other like miscellaneous speech events. So original oratory and informative are your platform events, and the reason they're called platform is because they're more of your traditional speaking style, like what you would typically think of when you think like speech. And then extemp and impromptu are not as traditional, so but they're still speech events. So
Right, and our other side is our interpretation events, which consist of duo, poi, program oral interpretation, dramatic interpretation, DI, and then humorous interpretation, HI.
and oh, do we want to talk about both? Okay, no, it's fine. Um, and they both are performative, and a lot of people think that like one is easier than the other, but they actually come with their own they come with their own advantages and like in some cases disadvantages. It really just depends on the type of speaker and competitor that you are. So the first event we're going to be talking about is called Extemp, or it's short for extemporaneous speaking. So in this event, you'll get 30 minutes of time to prepare for this speech. So you'll draw a topic from like either a bag or like you'll basically get like 3 topics to choose from, and they're all political and usually deal with international or national um, topics, and you'll choose one of those, and then you'll have 30 minutes to prepare for that speech. And then after you those 30 minutes have elapsed, you will speak for 7 minutes and or 7 minutes and 30 seconds or less than that. But in speech, we have what's called a grace period. And most of these speech events where me and Shresta will be telling you about today have a 30-second grace period. So that means that the max you can talk for is like in this case 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And if you like politics or current events and you really like speaking about them and researching about them and informing others about them, then you should consider doing extemp. So our next event is impromptu, and it's kind of similar to extemp because it's not a speech that you've prepared beforehand. But for this one, it's different because these prompts are usually more creative or like abstract compared to the extemp prompts. So these prompts can be anything from like fast food slogans to a list of office supplies. They're really, really random. And you have 7 minutes of prep for this one, but that also includes your speaking time. So the way this works is you'll get 7 minutes when you walk into the round, and you can divide that however you want. So you can prep for 2 minutes and speak for 5 minutes, or prep for 1 minute and speak for 6 minutes. So it's really up to you how you use that time. But if you like being creative with the topic and turning like a random prompt into something really interesting and cool, then you should do impromptu. So this event is actually my favorite, but that's because I'm biased. It's called Original Oratory, and if y'all have ever seen a TED Talk or something similar to a TED Talk, that's what Original Oratory is kind of like. But oratory usually has the structure of causes, effects, and solutions. And this speech, unlike extemp and impromptu, is one that you'll prepare beforehand. So before you walk into the tournament and start competing, you will have your speech written down, researched, and memorized, and like ready to perform. So the structure of an oratory is causes, effects, and solutions, and you have 10 minutes and technically 10 minutes and 30 seconds with the grace period. So when you write, we'll do like a more in-depth lecture about original oratory and the other events, but you'll choose a problem and then you will talk about that problem's causes, effects, solutions. And this speech usually will improve upon over the season. So if you like speaking and convincing people and just of like a problem that needs to be solved and just like generally being super persuasive, then you should do oratory. So the last event I'll be talking about today with y'all is informative speaking, or we also call it info in the speech world. So this is also 10 minutes and 30 seconds, and this is the event that is probably most similar to oratory, but there are two main differences. So first, it involves boards. So if y'all have ever given a presentation in school and you're using a slideshow, think of it kind of like that, but your like slideshow with info is like physical boards, so like physical visual aids. And like unlike in oratory where you're trying to persuade people, informative is like the title of the or like the name of the event. You're literally just informing people of pretty much any topic that you want. So if you like arts and crafts and educating people about a topic you're passionate about, then you should consider doing info.
Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about all the four interpretation events that speech and debate offers. So all of them consist of a 10-minute performance with a 30-second grace period, like Bethany was talking about. So first is POI, or program oral interpretation. And so in POI, competitors often combine different types of literature, like prose, poetry, and drama, into a single script centered around one specific theme. You want this theme to be like unique to you, that you care about, so that the judges really can resonate with it. And so, for example, someone might use a mix of spoken different words, novel excerpts, and scenes from plays to explore topics like identity, mental health, or even like social injustice. So, performers usually rely on vocal inflection, body language, also known as blocking in the speech world, and facial expressions to guide the audience through their emotional arc of the piece. But what makes Poise so unique is the black book that they offer, which contains the manuscript. But the thing is that you don't want to be looking inside your manuscript. You want it to be memorized so that the judges really understand that you know your piece and that they really know what you're talking about. So competitors use the book for blocking, gestures, or even symbolism, like flicking pages back and forth or dramatically holding it in ways that show character changes, which is also called popping. So next is duo, and so same thing, it's a 10-minute long speech with 30-second grace period. And so this is usually with two competitors, as duo is, with people selecting a single piece of literature, usually from a play, screenplay, or even a short story, and perform it as a rule. And the rule is that duo performers can't make direct eye contact or touch each other. So everything about their interaction has to be through emotions, humor, or even conflict. And it has to be shown through clever blocking, body language, and just vocal choices. So that may mean that performers might choose to switch between multiple characters or sometimes even just crossing over each other in different lines. So what judges are really looking for is a strong partnership chemistry, clarity in character changes, and creative staging, which helps the audience follow along the story. So ultimately, duo is just about having a really good partnership with your partner, obviously, to make sure that the judges understand what you're trying to do. So next is DI, or dramatic interpretation, and the same 10 minutes with a 30-second grace period. And it also comes from a single piece of published work, like a novel, play, or screenplay. What sets DI apart is that the performer's ability to fully embody one or more characters without costumes, props, or even a script in hand. Everything relies on the voice, face, and body. Competitors carefully build distinct characters using subtle changes in posture, gestures, and tone to show age, gender, or even personality differences. For example, a slight like shift in weight or softer voices might indicate a completely different character. So a great DI doesn't just show sadness or anger, it makes the audience feel why the character is in pain or conflict. And so then the last event that I'm going to talk about is humorous interpretation, or HI, which is the same 10 minutes with a 30-second grace period. Like DI, HI pieces come from a single published work, usually a comedic play, script, or book excerpt, and are fully memorized without props or costumes. What makes HI intricate is the physicality and character work. Performance often switch characters rapidly between several exaggerated characters, sometimes mid-sentence, and each with a distinct voice, facial expression, and gestures. Competitors plan out comedic timing down to the second, when to pause for laughter, when to speed up, and how to land punchlines. Facial expressions are often bigger and more cartoonish than in DI, and movement across the performance space helps keep the audience visually engaged. HI isn't about random silliness, it takes precise blocking and clear diction and stamina to keep the energy high for the full 10 minutes. So you want the humor to not be forced, but to come naturally so that the judges actually resonate with what you're saying. So while it is about telling a coherent, entertaining story, it also means that you have to be funny naturally. So those are our four interpretation events. And if Bethany wants to add anything.
I was gonna say, those are all the events we're gonna be talking about today. They're the main ones you're gonna see at tournaments. Some tournaments do have like at the national, even at the national tournament, there are like a lot, like some other speech events, but these are the main ones that you'll probably see, at tournaments, regardless of like what state you're in. But the reason that Shresta and I decided to do this lecture is to kind of give y'all just a broad idea of what each event offers and like kind of like the gist of each event because um, I know that I'm not someone who like loves acting, so that's kind of why I choose to do like oratory and informative, but like Shresta is like really good at interp and oratory and platform. Um, so she usually gravitates towards like more acting style events. But we just wanted to give y'all this lecture so that y'all can decide like think about your strengths and weaknesses and like what you may want to do. You can also do at usually at tournaments you can do multiple events. So sometimes I'll do impromptu, info, and oratory all at one tournament. So you don't have to be like just you don't have to focus on just like one event. You could do multiple. You could do platform and interp. It's really what you think you would enjoy. Shresta, do you want to add anything?
Right. And like Bethany was talking about those other interpretation events, those are usually called supplemental events. And like I at the beginning said I do poetry interpretation. That is not a main competitive competed event, but it is a supplemental event that you can find at like NSDA Nationals. And so I would totally agree with Bethany. You can double enter in tournaments, and I would suggest like doing like events that are similar to each other so that you're not having to deviate completely at like a tournament. Like HI and D are similar, Duo and Poi are similar, and then like OO and Impromptu are similar. Or Info, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all we have, but we will see you in our next lecture where where we will go more in depth with these events. Okay, bye.